This is Hannibal here with a daily wrestling news update for you. The Rock is in the news talking about potentially running for president again. Of course, his daughter made some controversial social media remarks regarding Charlie Kirk the other week that got her some heat in the media, but there was no fallout at all from it in WWE. The Rock is one of the biggest shareholders there, hence why the daughter has her job. And The Rock's only response has been that he's very, very proud of his daughter. And he said about being a possible president, quote, "It's wild, man. Always honored when people ask that. I love to do what I love, storytelling, but yeah, we'll see," end quote. So there you go. He's leaving it up in the air whether he'll ever run for president. He is one of the most popular movie stars of the last 20ish years. He's coming out with a movie next week officially about the Smashing Machine, Mark Kerr, who I've interviewed several times, and I know him a little bit. I'm happy for him regarding getting a movie about his life. Mark Kerr was on Joe Rogan talking about it. I mean, when I first met Mark Kerr, he was a used car salesman. Even though this deal was put in place, he was being a used car salesman or a car salesman. I don't know if it was used or not to make money. So now he's kind of getting a second chance at fame. There's already some Oscar talk about this with The Rock. Mark Coleman, who also someone plays him in the movie, claims that he wasn't given any money for being a consultant on the film, and Mark Coleman claimed Mark Kerr had him. Find that hard to believe, and Tank Abbott has confirmed with me recently that Mark Kerr moved into a neighborhood very close to his in Scottsdale, which is one of the upper class neighborhoods. So I'm sure that's no coincidence, and good for him if he's getting some money, because there wasn't much money in fighting when he was in it. Although he had some very good deals, and Rick Bassman, from what I would understand, was his agent for some of those deals. Rick has had a bunch of videos on this channel, including 2 interviews with Mark Kerr. And by the way, speaking of The Rock running for president, a poll back in 2021 said 46% of Americans said they would vote for The Rock. I'm not sure if that would still be the same today, but apparently I've never heard of her until she started making a big deal about the end of her contract. But Jasmine Nix is a NXT wrestler who's now done with NXT. She used to be a soccer player. She was never an indie wrestler. She was paid to train. Again, this is going to be an issue ongoing in wrestling. When you don't get people from the indies, you pay them to train. And apparently she was making under 80,000 a year. Her contract was coming up. She wanted more than 80,000 a year. She feels she should have made between 80 and 150,000 a year. Because in NXT the cap is 250. And keep in mind, NXT beats AEW almost every week now, where there is no cap and there's people making about 6 million a year. But anyways, the thing is, this girl paid no dues. She's good looking, but she's not over. Why should she make a huge amount of money? She's only been in the business 3 years. There's a lot of spoiled wrestlers that, again, she's not going to go to the independents and make $200 a night after this. This is the problem with the new generation of people paid to train. It's going to continue to hurt the indie scene. There are some indies out there like Juggalo Championship Wrestling that have funding that can afford to pay a little more to wrestlers on the indie scenes, but your mom and pop average indie company, a lot of them are going out of business because people are just making too much money in the big leagues now, and they don't want to wrestle for less money when they get on the indies. Hell, Hell, AEW's paying Jericho supposedly $6 million a year. He hasn't wrestled for over 6 months, and there's lots of people like Jack Swagger. They hardly used him, and he made a fortune. He made enough money to start a trucking company. So, I don't think it's good as a whole. The current formula of wrestlers, because the passion is not rewarded anymore. In other news, Joe Hendry, there's someone that did pay his dues. He appears to be finished with TNA because I guess they gave him a farewell last night. He has been training with NXT. The thing about Joe Hendry is he's not at the peak of his popularity anymore. His peak of his popularity anymore was before he did that WrestleMania job to Randy Orton. They can say it meant nothing, but he basically did a squash to Randy Orton. By that point in time, his gimmick was starting to get old, and then he was just seen as a jobber in WWE. Yes, they can build him up somewhat, but I don't think he is as hot as he was when he was representing TNA, going to NXT for the first time. Frank says KnokX Pro Wrestling, which was relieved of its WWE ID affiliation after that incident with Raja Jackson, who it's strange, they haven't released a mugshot for Raja Jackson yet. I don't know, and there's no information on if someone bailed him out or not. There was lots of information on him getting arrested. I don't know what the status is of his bail or not. I could imagine Rampage probably bailed him out, but it's weird that there was no mugshot. Rikishi's funding KnokX Pro Wrestling. I'm sure if it was a WWE ID program school, they were getting some extra money for that, but now there's such a black mark on it. I don't know if Rikishi needs the money. He's got what, 2 or 3 kids in WWE. I heard he's doing an appearance with one of his kids for Memphis Wrestling soon. Might even be this weekend. So he's doing appearances outside of KnokX Pro Wrestling. But I think if Rikishi had been there that night, it never would have gotten to that. But there you go. Like, it's one of the rules of businesses, and I've made this mistake before. I haven't kept close enough eye on a show, and a show is flopped because I've trusted it with somebody else. And I think Rikishi made that mistake. He trusted people with running that show that night that shouldn't have been trusted, and it ended up going horribly wrong. But KnokX Pro, they probably also don't want to get sued, so it's better if that's an incorporated business